In this episode, we welcome Katharine Lau, an accomplished entrepreneur and innovator in the real estate and proptech space. Katharine is a co-founder and CEO of Stuf Storage, a fast-growing self-storage startup that's reimagining how we use urban space. Katharine shares her journey from a decade-long career in commercial real estate, working at firms like Prudential Real Estate Investors, Equinox, and coworking pioneer Industrious, to launching Stuf in 2020 with a mission to transform underutilized spaces into tech-enabled, hospitality-inspired storage. She opens up about the aha moment that led her to start Stuf, how her experience outside the storage industry shaped her approach, and why she believes the future of storage is local, software-enabled, and design-conscious. Let's get to it. Kat, thanks so much for being on the pod. Been excited to have you. It's gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to nerd out with you.
Thanks for having me.
So, yeah, and it's cool to have another, I'd say like another entrepreneur, founder on the pod, and also operator slash. I mean, you've done so much in what I found in our research, so I'm excited to get this started.
Oh dear, yeah.
We'll get to some fun stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that because self-storage is full of entrepreneurs. It's just there's not so many of
True.
the ones that start with tech, right? Tech forward ones.
That's exactly what I mean. Yes, but you are right. There's definitely it's definitely a fun industry. You get to meet a lot of cool people from very different backgrounds, doing some really cool stuff. I was gonna say, I don't know. Is that something you can't say? It's like Spotify flag, bad words. Kyle, do you know?
This is America, Rodolfo.
I heard like you know you have to.
It's your own podcast.
Yeah,
I know, but sometimes like you get an auto tag on the ups. Never mind.
Probably certain words you shouldn't say, but
yeah,
generally.
for sure. All right, Kat,
I'm gonna bring us back. Back.
Back to you.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, can you start off just sharing kind of your journey before founding Stuf?
Yeah,
I know you have a lot in commercial real estate, but just kind of like what led you to founding Stuf Storage?
Yeah, I'll go way back just so you know why I'm even in real estate and now in self-storage. So I started my career, or I started my life in Livingston, New Jersey. I was born and raised there. And when I was 13, my family, we moved to Hong Kong because my dad got a job out there. And 3 years later, we moved to Shanghai. My parents got divorced. And it was really when I was in Hong Kong and Shanghai where the entire skyline of those cities would change within a matter of months, or at least a year. And I just thought that was real estate and how cool that real estate can change entire communities and bring, retail and jobs and all these things to a place that, I live and have called home. And I just felt like, oh, I want to be part of this. Like, I want to build these skyscrapers. I want to be initially a hotel manager or hotel developer. Like, I'm going to work in cool, beautiful hotels. I'm going to build them. I'm going to like go around the world and do that. And I realized that's not what commercial real estate is about, or it's not that easy. And certainly doesn't happen as quickly as it does in Shanghai, at least in the early 2000s. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to NYU. I'm going to study hotel management and development. And I got my first real estate job out of school. And it was really working at a big insurance company, Prudential. I worked on asset management and acquisition of grocery anchored retail centers and like really, really, really distressed strip centers. So just like I was in Tupelo, Mississippi, Destin, Florida, like just like some really interesting places that I had never found myself in and worked on really, really challenging assets. So I was like, wow, this is definitely not like hotel development the way I had imagined. And so from there, I went to a New York City developer of office buildings called L&L. Worked there for 3 years and really got more hands-on experience with how you property manage, lease, capitalize buildings. And I guess I've always been trying to get closer to the actual end user. So I joined Equinox on their real estate team because I wanted to help, like grow the physical footprint of a retail business. Like, oh, I was an Equinox gym member. How cool would it be to actually influence that experience for thousands of other customers across the country? And then from there, I joined Industrious, which is one of the largest coworking companies. And the whole premise was like, let's make office and co-working space wonderful and unique and special, because office space was not that for a long, long time. And so that was really what led me to Stuff, because I'd just been through a lot of buildings in that experience, right? If we were acquiring, managing, or leasing space, people would always focus on like the upstairs space, not the basements, not the garages, not the like back of house areas. And so when the pandemic hit, I was like, well, I could bake sourdough bread, which I tried to do, and that was really bad. And then I just kept a notepad of all these like different business ideas, and the business ideas that really like were sticky or interesting were really around how do you monetize underutilized real estate. So at one point, I was deep into the ghost kitchen world. I was like, I'm going to start a ghost kitchen company. I'm going to help save all these restaurants through the pandemic. I also looked at doggy daycares, data centers, all sorts of stuff. And I pitched the ghost kitchen concept to one of my now investors. And he was like, Kat, I would literally invest in anything you work on, but ghost kitchens. Like, pick anything else. and then he was like, oh, look at self-storage. And I was like, nah, I'm good. It just, I had never touched self-storage. And I thought like, oh, I worked at Equinox and Industrious, like beautiful, fancy spaces. Like that's what I thought I needed to do. And the more I looked into self-storage, the more I was like, wait, it's lacking innovation. It's lacking like really like modern brand appeal. It's lacking an emphasis on great customer service. At least that's what I found in my research. And for all those like gaps or where it was lacking, I was like, this is a huge opportunity. Like I can fill this gap and really get it to a level where I think customers would use it, daily, weekly. They'd be so happy to come. Women, especially, who are more than 60% of customers and who actually book the storage units, they can come on their own and feel good about it, So those are some of the things that drew me to it. And I used a lot of my experience at Industrious, where we did asset light management agreements, revenue sharing deals, and essentially applied that business model to underutilized real estate. So it's essentially turning dead, crappy spaces. I was going to say the S word, but then, and turning that into money. But at the same time, bringing storage closer to end users, to businesses. So anyone who needs it.
That's awesome. I'll say the S word, shit, in general, just because, it doesn't have to be a family friendly podcast here.
Oh, good. Okay. I was going to say it. Shit. Okay. We're good.
Yeah. Kat, like I love hearing founders' origin stories. So I want to kind of like dig a little deeper. Obviously, from your Hong Kong experience through Equinox and Industrious, like when did the light bulb go off that like you wanted to be a CEO, like start something? Like I feel like that leap of faith is like not the easiest one to do. And so maybe kind of, did you wake up one day in the pandemic and you're like, I'm going to go do this thing by myself? Or like, where did that occur?
I'll tell you. So when I was really young, my parents had, they were also entrepreneurs. They opened a couple, like, they're not really blockbusters, but just self-branded movie video rental stores. We know how that story ended. It was really a challenging childhood where it was like, wow, you have a thriving, growing business, to, wow, you owe a lot of people money, And so that, I think, did the opposite for me, in that, oh, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Like that is really stressful and scary, and you have so many responsibilities to so many people. But it was really my experience at Industrious, where I was the first real estate hire, essentially built out that entire supply side of the business, the real estate side of the business. And I was like, damn, I'm a badass. Like I work hard, I see results. Like this is really, really fun. And I just felt like I could do this on my own and reward myself for it. Right. And so I didn't quite have the idea, right? Clearly I was looking at ghost kitchens and data centers and whatnot. But like once I learned about self-storage, and like I had the playbook of doing it for Industrious, but now I could apply it to self-storage, that made so much sense. So I think for me, like I love, very passionately love self-storage, not for the four metal walls, but for the challenge of rethinking, revamping, reimagining how people book, how they experience the space, how they feel in the space, how they talk about us to their friends, how they, I think it's like the actual customer experience rooted in physical space that gets me really excited. That's what got me excited about Equinox, Industrious, like those are the cool experiences. So I love self-storage for that reason. I think probably other folks in the industry love it for the money, I'm sure. I love it for that too, but like I think there's like so much more to it. It's a great business and it like touches so many people.
I really appreciate you digging in a little bit deeper with me. It's always interesting to hear how people get into the self storage space. And most people like trip over themselves and fall into it. And at the end of the day, then you hear about how much people like absolutely love the industry for so many reasons. And it is like a playground for like a technologist, that wants to innovate, that wants to care.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's take there's so many things that I could ask you about your beliefs coming from Industrious and Equinox and that background. But like, let's pause. What is stuff? Like, what do you guys do? What's the business model? Like, tell us what you're up to.
Yeah. Why do you have one F, not two? I could not afford the
Well,
second.
I was like, that's an easy one. It's like we dropped an E. Like you just randomly pick a letter in your name and decide that you're not going to do it.
Yeah. So stuff we're essentially a marketplace, B2B2C. And so the B2B side is us monetizing underutilized real estate on behalf of commercial real estate owners. So I'm talking about office owners, multifamily owners, retail. And we basically turn their dead, useless spaces that might sit empty for years, if not decades, and we turn that into tech-enabled self-storage. And then on the B2B side, that's where we offer the tech-enabled self-storage to people, to businesses in the area. And the whole premise is that, hey, you can now have storage around the corner or in your neighborhood. You don't have to drive 30 minutes away to a self-storage facility and make it like a half day to get your belongings. And you can do it on your own terms. You don't have to go into the property manager's office and sit there and sign an agreement and swipe your credit card. Like you can do everything online. You can move in yourself. We have AI-powered security cameras and a whole host of other sensors and other IoT devices that help ensure that the space is well managed, but also secure. So it's almost like having eyes and ears on the ground, even though we don't. It's all 100% remotely operated. And we're at a point now where we have about 30 locations in 7 cities. So we're in New York, DC, Boston, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, and Atlanta.
If I had the little digital clapping sound thing, I'd give you the digital claps. That's awesome. 30 locations is amazing.
Yeah. And I call them micro locations, but they're actually not that small. Like our first couple locations had 25, 50 units, but we're in the 200, 250 unit range. And the units are getting bigger themselves as well. So we have thousands of customers and it's just really fun because we've built Stuff OS, which is our proprietary management software, to power the entire business, to integrate with the access control systems, to handle search and booking, and to handle like the content management of our website and collections and things like that. And it's incredibly important because we only have 3 full-time ops people for 30 locations. That is a really hard thing to do, right? For a physical business.
That's amazing.
And so it's all because of Stuff OS. And right now we're building an AI agent that is going to be our frontline employee. Like our number one closer is really going to help with picking up phone calls, responding to text messages, emails, chats, about sales inquiries, about, gate access issues or access control issues. And is even going to be as proactive to potentially make a call to a customer about a late payment. Like this doesn't necessarily need to be done by humans anymore because the technology is there. And you were talking about a playground, and we have that playground. We have 30 locations in which to test, experiment. And so that's been a ton of fun as well.
Can I ask? I'm just curious, like to dive into like the like with landlords, right? Like, what does that agreement look like? Are you buying, leasing, rev share? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we don't buy anything. we we rev share with landlords. We sign lease agreements with a percentage rent clause, which is essentially the revenue sharing, and we fund the capital in partnership with the landlord. The landlord takes the lion's share of it. So they're essentially paying a TI allowance, which is money that the landlord gives to their tenant to build out the space. We of course also invest capex ourselves, and we also handle all of the operations, the utilities, R&M, insurance, like everything that goes into running and paying for the expenses of a facility. So it's asset light because we're not having to buy buildings, get a mortgage, um, do new construction. Like we're actually repurposing underutilized real estate, which by the way is more sustainable. But I don't really talk about that enough.
I'm assuming like that stuff came from that experience at Industrious and all that, because I feel like you're at
Yeah,
hyperscale with them. That's so
yeah,
interesting being able to apply. I mean, that's the beauty, right? Being able to directly apply that to this,
yeah,
this such a special asset class.
exactly. And I feel so fortunate to have had that playbook because I also saw what worked and what didn't work on someone else's dime, right? And I would like to say have made fewer mistakes or have had fewer hard lessons because of all the great lessons that I learned at Industrious. And I'm still really, really close to the founders. They still are mentors to me. And yeah, I take so much away from that experience. And actually, some of my former Industrious team members joined me when I started stuff. So that was a really good. It's like good to have good people around.
That's
It's so
awesome.
cool. You guys are doing so many things. I like just want to kind of get where your head is. Like, is stuff a real estate platform? Are you guys a logistics play? Like consumer brand? Like, how do you think about it? Is it something else like completely entirely? Like, what is that? Like, if you had to,
I think about us like a marketplace, a managed marketplace. So it's a marketplace that needs a little bit of hand holding, a little bit more process that we own. Uh, if you were to talk to VC investors, so we're VC backed, they would put us in marketplace, in proptech, in consumer. Those are the main areas they tend to put us in. And when you're talking about us from a self storage owner's perspective, they're just like, I don't really know what they are. Like,
right, right.
because our end product is self storage, right? It is a 5x5 unit, a 5x10 unit in this location. But we also, it we have a proprietary management software that powers our business, and that's just not how things are done in self-storage. Like, you don't build your own thing usually unless you're public storage or extra space. So I think self-storage has a hard time placing us, and it makes sense.
Yeah, totally. There's so many things to unpack here. I mean, you touched on a topic that like we could spend like 4 hours touching on is like AI agents and stuff, but and we're gonna get to it. I promise that's why people are here. So we're gonna talk about AI at some point in time. But like I really want to get into your head a little bit still, right? Like you guys have 30 locations. You're building Stuff OS. Like my favorite quote, like for entrepreneurs, the best entrepreneurs know how to let fires burn. Like, how does Kat on a day-to-day basis think about which problems are worth solving?
We just had this conversation just because we had a product roadmap meeting, and um, so this is really top of mind for me. I think so often the when you're thinking about the work that you have to do, it's like, how do I make my life easier? How do I make my work faster? And when you're running a business that serves thousands of people, you have to be customer centric and think, what is the best thing for the customer? What's going to get the most customers? What's going to make those customers the happiest? And maybe that is going to create a little extra work on the ops side. Or maybe it's not the most streamlined, efficient thing that could happen internally. And I think I still have a struggle there. But when I think about what fires to let burn, I'm like, are we talking about nickels or are we talking about Benjamins? Right? Like if we are talking about fixing or building something that's going to impact 5% of customers versus 100% of sales leads, I'm going to go sales leads all day long. And I'm going to let that little nickel thing burn. And so a good example of that was like, this billing feature, something with invoicing. We loved that. Great. How many people ask for it every single month? Maybe 7. 7 out of, thousands. That's not good enough, right? Like that's the fire we're going to let burn. And then we're talking about prioritizing like a sales feature that will increase sales conversion. That's huge. So I think every great entrepreneur, I hope, would let some fires burn. And I think sometimes for individual customers, it might be the biggest deal to them, but you just have to think higher level.
No, I appreciate it. That's awesome. And the kind of my last personal mentality grit kind of question. Entrepreneurship's such a roller coaster, right? Like we all go through the ups and downs all the time. Even prior to us recording, you were talking about your 3-year-old who stole your AirPods that you work with normally.
And she sticks them in her nose. Okay, that's the most important part.
I know. Nose and then back into the ear. Like
you guys don't even want to know where this has been.
Like when things get chaotic, like how does Kat stay grounded? Like what are you doing to come back and recalibrate yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself at home for your little girl and then as well for your employees every day?
I write it down here, or I write it down here in one of these notebooks or pads, and then I get organized by the end of the day, no matter what. I have something that I call an air traffic control board. I share it with our chief of staff and my assistant. And it's essentially the never-ending laundry list of things, but really prioritized. So like all the little things that bother me, they usually end up at the bottom. And we'll get to it eventually, hopefully one day. But the big ticket items, it's really easy to lose sight of them when a fire drill happens or something pulls you away from what you're focused on. And so I always need both a physical and digital reminder to go back to. Like if I'm ever lost and I'm like, what was I doing? Like, what should I be doing now? I go to one of these things to give me the answer. And I need it because I get pulled in so many different directions, as I'm sure you guys do as well. So that is what keeps me really, really grounded. I also really like to eat great food. So I think I stress eat a lot. So that's
nice.
That's another answer for you. But yeah.
What's the go-to? What's the go-to?
It's whatever muffin or cookie that I find hidden in our pantry it's not mine, it's my husband's. So it's like he buys these things and then I go sneak it out. Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's get back to some of the tactical things. Like, we love to talk about the counterintuitive, specifically for self-storage. Like, you've got so much real estate experience outside of the self-storage industry. Like, what are some lessons learned from your past lives that you bring in day to day to stuff, and you're like, hey, this has really kind of helped the framework of what we're building on top of?
Even to add to that, Mason, I want to bring this up too. I found somewhere, I can't remember where I found it. But how you described stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. It was like 1 part Manhattan Mini Storage, 1 part co-working for storage, and then 1 part Warby Parker. And I thought that was really interesting, the Warby Parker place. But please.
I can't even remember where I said that, but it sounds great and it makes sense. So I like it. And I'm going to use it again.
Write it down. Write it down.
One of my biggest learnings and what's been so critical to our business and our early success has been observations when I was at Industrious. I was on the real estate team. I was in charge of deals, like get more deals, source more deals, sign those deals, negotiate great deals. But when I looked at how we were growing the business and scaling the team and observations about our day-to-day ops, I always found that oh, wow, we solve problems here by hiring people. Like we hire someone to fix the process that didn't work or to take on all these responsibilities. And I thought, wow, technology can solve that problem, or technology can do that work. And I didn't even know exactly what tech, and I had no day-to-day ops experience, but I knew that I wanted to build a company that defaulted to technology, like at its core. If there was a problem, we would explore a technology solution before we would ever consider hiring someone or bringing a human on board to think about it. So my team right now, we're 16 people. I think we're like 6 engineers right now out of 16 for a real estate business, right? So I think that tells you where we're putting the investment, where we think the company is growing and how it's going to grow. But I just knew that I didn't want to solve every single problem with a human. And
The head
obviously
count.
there's like the business ramifications and the profit margins and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's all great. I love
Totally.
where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times when you think about a traditional real estate, play, right? Your largest asset costs or your largest cost centers are going to be the land, the buildings, the leases that you guys are going after, and then the second largest one is headcount that it takes to manage and operate those things. So you guys are obviously starting from a tech perspective. That's a good transition into like, you know, everybody. AI is such a buzz term today, but I think like building technology in general to like help solve problems is there. Like it doesn't need to be AI to send messages out on a timely basis to remind people about payments. Like, how do you think about the balance between like building systems and then like where things are going over the next 5 to 10 years?
Can I just tell you something? So
Yeah, heck yeah, that's what we're
I,
here for.
uh, so I had my son February of last year. So he's about a little over a year. Before I had my son, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of Chat GPT. Yeah, yeah, I've heard of AI. It's like I've seen it in movies. I like was not applying AI. We weren't using AI. We weren't really doing anything with AI in terms of our business. And then I went on mat leave and I was like, wow, every day feels the same and I miss working. So you know what? I'm going to learn about AI. And I got obsessed. And I was chomping at the bit to go back to work so I could spread the gospel to my entire team. And I got my head of engineering and she was already kind of like working on some stuff AI related. And we just got obsessed together. And then we looped in more people and more people, like on the ops side, like, oh, did you know that there's AI security cameras? And then it's just now we're so obsessed. We use AI tools across the gamut of what we do, everything from the security to collections. And I just think AI is going to be fundamental in what we do. It's not just like one tool, but it's like a frame of mind or like a way of working. So sure, right now we might be in the like implementation phase and then the AI agent building phase. And like if you were to diagram everything or put everything into a diagram, it would look kind of messy, right? Because there's just like we're trying a lot of new things. But I think if you think about 5-10 years later, we're going to think about that diagram in terms of like one high level general approach to leveraging AI in everything that we do. So I don't have a great clean answer for you. I think we're all trying to figure it out, but I think it's not going away. And if anything, self-storage is the most beautiful asset class in which to apply AI.
That's awesome. It sounds like there's a lot of experimentation going on. Well, I know in your organization, but like even
Yeah.
in our circles, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking to people. We interviewed, Gabriel Luna of Trojan Storage recently, and he talks to his AI every day on the way to work just to like pre-plan his day. Like for operators or people in the industry that are maybe hesitant around AI, like I'm curious, like what you would say to convince them to just start exploring it today.
Yeah. I mean, that was me a year ago. So I would say open ChatGPT and just ask it a couple questions. Let's say you have, I think we had an issue last year, just like there was a leak and like some, you know, items that a customer had stored with us got wet. And I think one of my team members had a really tough time crafting an email. And I was like, you know what? Like, let's open ChatGPT and tell it the situation and have it create an email for you. And it was the most beautiful email, so well written and so thoughtful. And I think from that one experience, it showed my someone on my member experience team, wait, like I can use ChatGPT too, but I'm like picking up the phone. And so just start somewhere. And I think just opening up ChatGPT, opening up Claude, Perplexity, like just choose one of them and just start talking to it. And then I think you are only limited by your prompt or by your questions or your imagination. So I have other advice, but just start there.
Yeah, imagination, curiosity. It's really a behavioral change. Like we've gotten so used to going to the URL bar and that being directly integrated into Google. It's like, okay, the behavior change is like before we go to the URL bar and start typing in whatever question you want, like let's open up that tool and go into it. I have a friend that I work out with who's a mechanical engineer. He designs gears for construction equipment, and like we talk all the time. We're like, I showed him, we like created like a trivia bot just using OpenAI not too long ago, and he's like, man, like I show everybody at work like how we can like help talk to customers better. All these mechanical engineers just like don't know how to talk to people. It's like that behavior change is the hardest part, right? It's like just start there, give it a shot, and you're probably going to continue to go back to it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And what's bizarre is my husband is a software engineer. And I feel like I know more about AI than he does because he's a software engineer at a really big corporation. And I come home, I'm like, have you heard about Copilot? Like this was last year, right? So have you heard about Copilot? Have you heard about Cursor? Devin? Like, and he's like, yeah, I work at the bank. I'm not even allowed to use these tools. And then I'm over here being like, you cannot be left behind. And so I feel like sometimes I'm the one telling the software engineer, hey, you need to look into AI. You need to learn AI. But I do think it's just going to be part of life. And it just the way the internet changed our world, our customer behavior, our truth in everything, right? Like we didn't unlock doors with the internet before. We used to have keys, right? To unlock every single door. And so you're just going to see that change, that evolution over the next couple of years, and we're all going to be fine. We're going to figure it out. It's going to get messy, but we're going to figure it out.
That's a good, like, my last kind of high level question, and then is like, do you think there's like downside and risk specifically of relying too heavily on technology or AI in general in self storage specifically, like in your day to day operations? Are there specific things that stuff just like is like, you know what? Always there's going to be a human to do this thing, or do you feel like every touch point could be automated in one way, shape, or fashion?
I would love to say I think everything 100% could be automated, but I know the answer is there are select things that should always be handled by a smart person with context and heart and all that. And some of those things obviously are legal, right? Anything that touches legal that might be a little legal, always human. So that seems like an obvious one to me. And I was at a dinner with a bunch of founders last week, and everyone's talking like an AI founder. And then I was like, at some point in 5 to 10 years, we're all gonna be really tired of AI and just want human connection again. So I think some of these things are like cyclical, because I think it'll just follow online dating, right? Like now dating apps are not really, everyone I talk to is like, I got rid of all my dating apps. I joined a run club. Oh, why? Oh, I wanted to meet people in person. So I think you're going to see some of this evolution, but I think in terms of how we do self-storage operations, I think AI is going to be a fundamental driver of change. It's just a matter of how long that change takes and how fast you see it across the entire industry.
That's awesome. I'm gonna ignore the rabbit hole of dating apps for right now because
I met my husband on a dating app. Not gonna lie.
That's awesome.
Open a whole can of worms right there.
Yeah.
Mason has stories.
Yeah. I've been in the like we didn't call it conversational AI 10 years ago, but I've been building like language models for over 10 years. I've just always been extremely fascinated by utilizing like computers to communicate at scale. Since the
Yeah.
dawn of time, or humans specifically, we've been trying to communicate with each other at scale, whether that's pictographs in a cave or singing song over a fire. Like at the end of the day, those tunes were meant to carry from one person to another. And so like the rapid iteration of generative AI today is another tool in the tool belt. And I think like today we're really in a like parlor trick phase with a lot of these things. Like, and what I mean by that is like you go to a bar, I can go hang out with my friends at CrossFit and show them these tools, etc. But
Mm.
like once you start to like actually try to hit rubber hits road where meets the road, like use these for business use cases. You have, I forget the airline. I need to go figure out the airline that like utilized the ChatGPT wrapper basically, and like people tricked it to selling the entire airline for free, right? Like
Oh
when
my
it comes to
God.
like actual business use case and engaging with customers, I think there's still a lot of room for that human and machine collaboration today. And I think we're going to be in that kind of that melding phase for the
Hmm.
foreseeable future, at least, which is really exciting, I think, for
Hmm.
operators and technology providers as we continue
Hmm.
to envision what like the future looks like, and how do we go build that together. um yeah, that it's always fun. I could sit here for hours and like
I have a lot
go
to
on
learn
and
from
on.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. I'm to kind of go back and like to like let's just talk about the future of cities and space, because you have a lot of experience in real estate. I'm curious, like, what part of futures, not just like self storage, like you guys are reimagining what it means to be a self storage operator by buying these kind of depreciated assets. Like, what
Hmm.
gets you most excited about the future city? And I know, Rodolfo, this is something that you think about a lot, like whether it's walkable cities or different things like that. I'm just kind of curious, like, Kat, in your head, like,
Hmm.
let's go 20 years from now, your kids are out of college, like what kind of cities and spaces are they living in and interacting in?
I'm going to say something, and then I'm 50-50 on whether this is going to happen.
Bring the hot
So,
takes. Bring it.
you
We love them. We love them.
know how neighborhoods now and communities are very horizontal, right? You have your office building, your gym, your coffee shop. This is all horizontally laid out. And I think because of the challenges in commercial real estate, specifically in office buildings, I think office owners are going to encourage and design and repurpose their buildings in such a way that you start seeing communities being vertical, right? Because what else are they going to do with all that empty office space that can't be self storage? They can't give it to me, right? So can't give all of it to me, but whatever they're left with, they can put the
We can
indoor.
dream. We can dream.
Yeah.
We can dream, yes, of course. Indoor pickleball, they can do the coffee shop, they can um, have the conference center, like a school, maybe also in that building. And so I think you're going to start seeing more vertical communities. And I think what I'm not sure of, like, is how the horizontal community and the vertical community can coexist. And I think that's like a longer term thing we're gonna have to figure out, but
15-minute
when
cities.
I yeah, exactly, right? And, when I was at Industrious, one of the things I was doing was building, landlord products, which essentially were, how do we bring communities and amenity spaces and hospitality into office buildings such that the office tenants would want to stay there, want to spend money there, want to lease space in these buildings, be closer to other tenants because they're also so sticky in the building and leveraging all these amenities. And so I really believe in that concept. I just don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I think it's something along the vertical city concept.
It's interesting. Like, did you hear about the about Costco and what they're at least like they're
Yes,
experimenting with?
on the multifamily building.
Yeah,
I think it's in
yeah.
LA. I can't remember where it is.
I can't remember either. Obviously, it probably has to be like in a dense area, but it just you saying that reminded me of that. of kind of like
I
what they're
love
working on there?
Costco. That would be my
It's
dream vertical
dangerous.
city. I would get that chicken too often.
That
too,
hot
too, too
dog,
often.
The
that
rotisserie
pizza.
chicken.
Of course, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's cheaper to get the rotisserie chicken than it is to go into the freezer area, buy a whole chicken, roast it. Like it doesn't make sense.
Economies of scale, I think. Maybe. I don't know.
I know, it's a loss
Awesome.
leader. I get it. It works on me.
I mean, I'm there for the hot dog and drink, so
Everybody has their thing, their flavor. Yeah, yours is a hot dog, mine is a chicken.
So I'm curious, like, because I love this that we're talking about, like urban stuff. I actually had a few things I want to get into here. You at the very beginning, like I feel like your whole thing has been like turning underutilized spaces into something. When we're talking about like cities and all that, what other things do you think cities are full of are that could be something else, right? That we're not using right now in general.
Mm.
And we're about to give you some good ideas for stuff.
Please give me some good ideas. I think there's a play on some last mile logistics concepts similar to us that can monetize underutilized real estate. So when we're talking about last mile, we're talking about last mile. This is the last leg of the journey. And it might not even be delivery to the home, to the office, but like a kind of like Amazon pickup lockers or access points or something like that. So I think there's something there. I have a couple friends who monetize underutilized real estate almost as like retail. So if you're a new retail brand, but you can't afford to rent a retail space, but maybe this cafe here has like a little bit of space that is that they just don't need. And you know what? Great, because now the retail brand can pop up, showcase all of their wares, but then and at the same time, the coffee drinkers can see all this stuff and interact with it. And so there's this beautiful relationship that both the coffee owner and the coffee shop owner and the retail owner can benefit from. So I think like those types of concepts, and it again is just repurposing underutilized real estate. So those are the ones off the top of my head, but I want to know a little bit more about what you have.
No, I mean it's just interesting. I mean, we've like talked to a few others like in the flex space world where it's like a mix of everything. I think it's mostly on the helping these type of businesses like you're mentioning, kind of give them space for their logistics, e-commerce, which I think is really, really neat. But I'm also like, like right now living in like a major city or metro, like you see a lot of parking lots. Like, I don't know. I wonder like parking garages, like I wonder like what better use, what can that be turned into or
we're
like
turning
better
them
be
back into green
utilized?
spaces. You didn't watch the Robo-taxi?
Dude, I'm all
unveil?
into that. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm all into that. But,
Give us some more walk-in space. Come on,
yeah.
man.
I hear about like honeybee farms
Nice.
at office buildings. I hear
The
about
bees
all
are
this
going to
stuff.
save us. That's
Love
what's
it.
going to happen. The bees are going to save us.
I don't have the answer. When you talk about these parking garages and cities, and as public transportation gets better, and I live in New York City, so we have a very vast transit system. It's not well maintained though, so it's like there's a whole other thing there. But I still have a car, and I live in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I live in Brooklyn, but it's funny because when I come from this stuff real estate mindset and I talk to these garage owners, they're like, yeah, there's a clear value proposition to turn this into self-storage and that'd be great. But I still make a lot of money when like the Knicks are playing, or when this or the other thing. So it's like they're not really innovative enough to make a vast change, at least from my observations. That's not to say that parking owners in general aren't. But I think parking owners, like their whole business is to kind of like park cars. And so they have to believe in that. If they don't believe in that, then they're like talking themselves out of business.
Yeah.
I think a really cool thing for like parking garages, I've seen it actually in Dallas, and one is like pop-up fitness studios. Like, so when the garage, because like I go to CrossFit, like CrossFit gyms are notorious for being like pretty, bare bones, right? But like you can even get like rigs that fold in and out. So like if you had cars, you could fold them in and out and stuff. Just like pop-up studios, you could move bikes around, you could run up and down the freaking thing all you wanted to. So there's my little.
And I think
insight.
like we're just touching on this, and I want to switch this to another topic, but real quick, we were talking about this last week in Orlando because you were talking about your Rivian, and like it makes sense to me whenever we're not thinking about like huge parking garage, but like maybe lots where you have a EV and you have to charge it for 30 an hour. But if there's like a nearby event space where hey, you're charging your car for a little bit, it's not going to stay overnight or anything, but you also get to do other stuff. Like a mixed space of things. I think, I see
Let's
that.
go. Give me that. Give me that.
That would, I mean, I have an EV in New York, and I would love that because I could like run my errands, charge my car, come back. You have a Rivian?
I do have a Rivian, yeah.
Ooh, wow.
I love my R1S. Go Rivian. Go.
Not a sponsored episode, not a sponsor, but
RJ syringe is cool. I got
contact.
I've got like one like little, not one little question, but you guys are mainly in New York. I think you said you had locations in LA and stuff like that too. Like when you guys are thinking about the next city or location, like what are some characteristics that you guys are looking for like, hey, this is a city that is going to be stuff, you guys are going to be able to grow into?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about that now, but I didn't when I first started 4 years ago. And I thought, from the real estate side, I was like, the whole premise of the business is that it's a remotely operated business. So if we go into more cities at first, we're testing that hypothesis that can actually work. And so we intentionally went into multiple cities. We went into LA, SF, New York, and DC. And it was 3 cities our first year. And it really tested us and it forced us to figure out a lot of stuff. And so from the real estate side, we figured it out.
Pun intended, right?
Yeah. It's always intended. But on the demand side of those decisions, I didn't give it enough thought. What is the marketing strategy? How are we going to find efficiency in launching in 3 different markets at the same time? Well, there's not a lot of efficiency to be had launching in 3 markets at the same time, because you're going to have to set up, like your Google ads can only go so far. Your SEO is really not going to do much for you in the first month or 2, right? Like these are longer term strategies, or SEO is a longer term strategy. And so it was tough the first couple of markets. And then we figured out, you know what? Let's go look at Google search trends. What's going on here? Hey, wow, I heard about Radius Plus. Why don't we get an account and do a little bit of research about supply trends and pricing history and all that sort of stuff? We got really, really smart about assessing not only the real estate decision, but the demand analysis that had to go hand in hand with that. And those are hard lessons that I think, frankly, we needed to learn, and that I call all these learnings very humbling. And so I think with self-storage, it's initially with those 3 locations, it was just like, if I bring self-storage closer to the customer compared to the competitors, I should be better off, right? And that was true. It just was about visibility and awareness. That was the challenge. So a long way of saying it was difficult.
It's so interesting. I see a lot of. I mean, you're bringing obviously the product is there's still 3 walls and a door, right? But like you're bringing a different spin to the product, which is like a consumer education problem, and it kind of like, just off the top of my head, there's probably a lot of lessons to learn from like how Uber entered new markets really early on, because we were going from taxi driven economy to like just some new form of transportation. Just really interesting. It's got my head going there. I could probably sit there and pick your brain around lessons learned for the next 4 hours, because that's just really intriguing to learn about.
But it's also this data that has not allowed my neighborhood to get a Trader Joe's, because I've contacted them. They're like, oh, we're not going to get enough foot traffic. I was like, dude, if you open, you will get that foot traffic.
I will come every day, every hour.
Come on. But
This is
yeah, I
this
get
is
it.
a
I get
field
it.
of dreams. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come.
Well, I did this at Equinox. My job was to analyze demographics and psychographics and credit card data to identify where do we want to put an Equinox. So I should have done a little bit more research with the first 3 cities that we entered, but such is life. You're building a company.
Kat, I'm curious to talk about Stuff OS.
Yeah.
Did I understand it correctly that you actually sell that as well as a software package, or no? That's only to
No.
people that rent or that you partner.
We only use it for our 30 locations and for all of our customers. And it's just not, I don't know. I just think it's like a very crowded space that I don't necessarily need to be in.
Do you have any plans to, I don't know, offer that to other operators?
When I first started, I was like, this is my evil plan. I'm going to create Stuff OS and I'm going to sell it. And it's just, the evil plan is boring to me now. Maybe I'll eat my words later and maybe the evil plan will come to be. But I just feel like our value add, what we're really, really good at, the special sauce, is the marketplace business. It's the selling into landlords. It's the how do you make a customer feel special, but how do you then automate all of this and use AI to scale your business without scaling your team? I think we're really good at that combination of things. And so it just, yeah, but I think with the AI agent, we are thinking about or planning to sell that to other self-storage owners and operators. And I can tell you why, but it's, I think it's like really different than traditional management software.
Obviously, we just kind of touched on like what's next for Stuff and the exciting projects that you have. Is there anything that we're missing that Kat would love to tell the self-storage lab world that you're up to?
I just told you a lot. We're working a lot. I don't know if I could take on any more. We're about to double the portfolio this year in terms of size and revenue. So I think that's going to be great. And I'm going to tell you about it. You're all going to hear about it.
We love it.
Yeah. And we'll probably enter a new market or 2 this year. I don't want to announce yet which ones those are. Yeah, but there's a lot there in this, just the core business and like some of the new products that we're launching. That I think that's all I want to touch on right now.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have something just like we like to end it up, as we start wrapping up, some hot takes.
Okay.
Just wanted to throw one at you, maybe 1 or 2, but
Okay.
just curious, like, what's like one thing about self-storage, just the industry in general, that absolutely drives you nuts?
Normally with a hot take question, something comes immediately and nothing is, but I guess the one, and I'll answer my own question. It's just like, why does every brand color have to be neon? Right?
Love it.
For me, it was like the brand names. The brand names are
Yeah.
so-
There's a lack of creativity in self-storage from product marketing perspective and branding.
No, but then when we were coming up with our brand colors and our logo and everything, my favorite color is blue, so it was never not going to be blue. But then I looked at other brands and all the great brands out there are blue. And I was like, damn, well, what can I choose? Orange? No, that's taken. Green? No, that's taken. So we went with my favorite color, blue.
Nice. Yeah, that's why we primarily went with orange too. We wanted to be different, I guess, but every color's taken, right? So
they're all taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least we don't have like, every logo at least has a box in it, right? And it has a
Okay, that was going to be my second ancillary hot take, like related hot take, was so when I hired, a graphic designer to help us with brand, the first logo was a box. And I was like,
classic. Yeah.
No, every logo is a box. We're not going to just have a different box. We're going to do something different. So that was my other like related hot take. Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
And then one last one is, what startup or company in general are you obsessed right now?
It's going to be kind of boring, but it might be life-changing for people who have a lot of meetings. Granola AI. And there's a couple of them, but they essentially plug into your Google Meet, your Zoom, your phone call, your whatever, and it synthesizes the notes. It's not just taking word for word what notes, but it's summarizing and structuring those notes in such a way that you get like the key takeaways. And so before, when you're on a Zoom or in your real meeting, you're like taking notes, you're not paying attention to the person, you're not looking them in the eye. Now you could just forget about all that because granola is, it's got you. Yeah, it's going to take great notes for you. So that's been life-changing, especially for someone who has a lot of meetings, and then was incredible for interviewing and recruiting candidates. So that's my number one.
Awesome. I already pulled it up. I'm checking it out.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
The other cool ones are the Gamma AI is really good for giving you presentation, website, UI, UX ideas. There's been a couple others that I've used recently. No, those are just top of mind for me right now.
Nice. I have used Gamma. Pretty good for presentations.
It's cool, right?
Getting stuff out real quick. So,
yeah.
There's a lot to play with.
Yeah.
All right. Last question is, where can people find you? And just find you online, learn more about stuff and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. You can find us at stufstorage.com, STUF storage.com, because I could not afford STUF.com. So
one day.
So stufstorage.com. And if you want to learn a little bit more about Sidney AI, SIDNEY.ai.
Awesome. Katharine, yeah, it was really fun to get to know you a little bit today, outside of the Little Bits of Trade Show. Thanks for joining us and nerding out with us today. Excited to continue to see you at the self-storage trade shows.
Yeah, but now you know so much more. So
that's right.
We're going to have a lot more fun. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is ours. Thanks so much. We'll see you in Vegas.